Hey folks, happy Saturday morning rants. Last week I kind of jerked y'all on a rant, gave you a song instead, a song that I put together about Delta Airlines because they had me trapped in Denver. But I'm back in the city, I'm chilling, got a lot of trips coming up. What I want to talk about, Denver was interesting. Denver was interesting because, not just because we visited some prisons and heard from people who are doing time about the challenges that they're facing in those facilities, but because of the group I was with and how diverse that group was. You guys have heard me talk about this group before. I've been on trips with this group, and it's something to be said for hanging out with people you totally thought you would never agree with, only to find out that over time that there's actually room for consensus. And so that's always the big thing that comes out of me working with this group is it's not the fucking choir. And you could preach to the choir all day, feel really good about it, give people rah rah rah. I mean, there's something to be said about preaching to the choir. That's how you get them to sing. But at the same time, it's not really how you make change, at least not in places around the country that are not like super progressive, although I don't know what's progressive these days. So just fascinating to hang out with people that I otherwise might not have connected with and figure out how to get along and how to do some shit together. So that made Denver worth the days away from my day-to-day work, although in some ways, as y'all know, when you travel you end up doing both. So today what I want to talk about, besides that, I want to talk about AI tools that are being used in philanthropy increasingly. Who's surprised that increasingly AI is creeping into philanthropy? I was listening to this business's YouTube video where they talked about AI tools for the greater good, help people move faster, be more accurate, be more consistent, cut down on monotonous tasks, and just spend time coming up with big ideas. All that sounds very sort of typical of philanthropy. None of it really sounds new. The idea that big ideas is what wins the day. But when I hear language like that, I ask myself, what does it really mean, and who's included and who's not, who's left out, who's in it? And then, as we know, AI, is made up of a shit ton of data that already exists out there. I remember when ChatGPT first came out as like the most basic form of AI. And I asked it, how do you help people who've been involved in the criminal justice system get their rights back that have been taken away from them, usually by entities outside of the criminal justice system, including their Second Amendment rights? And ChatGPT quickly spit back out, sorry, can't help you, especially around the Second Amendment stuff, because we don't believe, data doesn't believe that people ever get back to the point where they should have their rights restored, much less not having their rights ever taken away at all in the first place. So that kind of biases in data, to me, is unfair and just institutionalizes those biases and perpetuates them, to be quite honest. And why wouldn't that end up favoring larger organizations over smaller grassroots organizations? Because smaller grassroots organizations are going to lack visibility and lack the resources to even be recognized by AI. Like, if you don't have the capacity to produce data, then you're not involved in these big data sets, and then you're not picked up by these AI tools. And so again, it just perpetuates biases. So not just the racism in data, but just literally institutional racism that keeps small nonprofits and grassroots people out of the philanthropic space. And then also there's just a lack of contextualized understanding. AI lacks the kind of nuance of understanding about local context, community needs. I mean, there's language that might be used in a proposal by a small grassroots nonprofit that makes sense to them, but doesn't make sense at all to AI. And y'all can imagine, I mean, look, if somebody says, we do work, we do harm reduction work, and we actually go into trap houses to do this work, I don't know if AI gonna pick up on that. I just don't know if AI gonna understand what the hell a trap house is. And then data quality and availability. Smaller nonprofits, again, don't have the resources to generate or access like high quality data. They just don't. And maybe they partner with a university, but even that takes time. It takes time for you to become sophisticated, to develop those relationships, to be able to produce that data. And then the centralization of power, right? So the idea that if you rely on AI to make philanthropic decisions, then it just centralizes power and decision making amongst the wealthy donors and tech developers. And, you know, I thought we were democratizing philanthropy by inviting in people closest to the problem or closest to the solution, and they should have a voice in where resources go. I thought that was the direction that we're going. Of course, I know since 2020, we seem to be going the opposite direction of everything we committed to. And while I do think people kind of went over fucking board in 2020, 2021, 2022, I still think there was a lot of really valuable, lucky I'm driving this car, I would have hit that bitch. There's still a lot of valuable stuff that we came up with that was moving us towards the democratization of those kind of things and really just sharing power, particularly amongst people who otherwise might not have access. And then there's an overemphasis on qualitative metrics, right? Like there's something to be said for small nonprofits that are mom and pop shops that are in the community that may not be connected to this huge nonprofit industrial complex, and that may be, you know, capturing qualitative data instead of quantitative data. And if I had to guess, AI is probably going to heavily focus on what's easy to measure, and it's going to be qualitative data, except everything you measure doesn't have value, and everything that we don't measure you know, doesn't mean that it doesn't have value. It's just what we choose to do. And if we're using computers and big data and AI, the assumption is that we're going to be focused on qualitative data. And I just think that that leaves out a lot of amazing mom and pop type nonprofits, small, 4 or 5 people on staff, if even, that are just doing great work. Some people, sometimes it's 1 or 2 people with a bunch of volunteers doing fucking amazing work. And I think that gets lost. What else would I mean, I can just sort of go on and on about what the fuck could be wrong about using AI. I mean, rich people, I mean, really, like, you get a tax benefit to give away your money, and you can't spend enough time to either make decisions based on human relationships and meeting with people and talking with people, or hiring staff to do those things. Instead, you want to rely on AI, which is interesting, because I got all my criticisms about a lot of people in philanthropy, but this is probably going to put them out of work too. And then lastly, like, misaligned priorities. Like, you would think, you know, if you use AI, then wealthy people using AI might prioritize efficiency and scalability over addressing systemic issues. Like, there's so many ways that we all know, like, if you put something in ChatGPT, everyone knows you get 50% of what you need and 50% of fucking craziness. Like, ChatGPT talks like some retarded ass fucking robot with a low battery. And the idea that somehow AI and philanthropy is going to be sophisticated enough to allow people to engage in philanthropy in a way that feels like we're genuinely problem solving is troubling. And all the data that goes into it is from decades of, like, a bunch of nonprofits out here kind of taking the most complicated route to helping people with issues like access to education, access to housing, access to voting, access to healthcare, you name it. Like, I find that nonprofits tend to be hugely circuitous, really bloated, and not taking a straight line to go from pulling in resources to actually changing people's lives. And AI will just solidify that and reinforce it. So look, I mean, when I saw this, I don't know where this is going. Like everyone else in AI, you never know where shit is going, and maybe AI will get better over time. I mean, if somebody comes up with a humanoid robot that could come to my house and fucking clean the apartment, I'm such an OCD freak, I'll probably buy 2 of those motherfuckers. So I'm not saying technology is a bad thing. I am saying that when you think about solving the world's most difficult problems, you know, maybe there's some efficiencies to be had using AI, but the idea of replacing philanthropic decision making altogether and handing it over to a fucking retarded robot sounds really stupid to me. That's what I got for y'all. I got all these trips coming up. Y'all are gonna take these trips with me. San Francisco, Detroit, Germany, Berlin, all these amazing places that I'm going to be going to visit prisons mostly and work with people who are doing amazing fucking work to help them be better at what they do. Y'all know me. I'm going to just keep y'all posted. Y'all can travel with me. Y'all can learn about what I'm doing. Y'all can ask questions. Anyone who knows me knows you can ask any fucking question and get the answer. I don't give a fuck these days. I got nothing to fucking hide. And so I look forward to that. But in the meantime, this is what I wanted to get off my chest for this weekend, so I could go ahead and enjoy my little day and a half before I got to get on another fucking airplane. And hopefully that airplane is not Delta, because Delta's kind of fucked up right now. Though I got to be honest, I bought some of their stock when that shit went down, because Delta ain't going nowhere. I'm just saying. I'm not giving you fucking stock advice, but I'm telling you what I did. That's what I got for y'all. If y'all got anything for me, holler at me. You know where to find me, mostly on Twitter. In the meantime, peace, do the right thing, and fucking like have your actions match your rhetoric. And then lastly, don't let a motherfucker steal your rainbow, because there's a lot of haters out there. Peace.